There's a specific kind of tiredness that doesn't show on the face. A tiredness that lives in the bones. One that comes from years of being strong, long before you were ready. It's the tiredness of the eldest daughter. People talk about the responsibilities, the expectations, the pressure. But what they never talk about is the quiet grief of growing up too fast. The childhood you watched from the sidelines. The softness you never got to keep. The weight you learned to carry before you even understood what weight meant. Because in many families, the eldest daughter isn't just a child. She is a second parent. A peacekeeper. A buffer. A translator of emotions. A protector of siblings. A bridge between chaos and calm. And yet, she's also just a girl. A girl who didn't know that the reason she learned to be responsible so early was because no one else was doing the job. It happens quietly. Parents lean on her a little too much. Siblings depend on her a little too often. She becomes the one who remembers everyone's needs and forgets her own. She becomes the one who solves problems before they escalate. The one who keeps the house together, keeps the peace together, keeps herself together. Psychologists call this role parentification. When a child becomes the emotional or practical caretaker of the family. But the eldest daughter never calls it that. She calls it normal. Because nobody ever told her it wasn't. She just grew up thinking that love meant responsibility. That affection meant duty. That being the older one meant you don't cry, you don't break, you don't fail. And so she didn't. She couldn't. Not when everyone else was depending on her. But the truth is, eldest daughters don't grow up strong. They grow up forced into strength. And that's a very different thing. You can hear it in the way she speaks. Soft but steady. Calm but cautious. She says things like it's fine, I'll handle it. Not because she wants to, but because she was raised to believe she had no other choice. She becomes the emotional sponge of the household. Absorbing stress, conflict, disappointment, anger. Never releasing any of it. Just holding it quietly, as if her chest has infinite space. She becomes the one who mediates fights. The one who comforts younger siblings. The one who notices when water bills are late. Or groceries are running out. Or the mood in the home is shifting. She notices everything. Because she had to. Because survival depended on it. But here's what no one sees. Being the emotional backbone means she rarely gets to lean on anyone. Being the strong one means she rarely gets comforted. Being reliable means she rarely gets rescued. She grows up surrounded by people, yet often feels alone. And this creates a kind of psychology unique to eldest daughters. They develop hyper-independence. The belief that asking for help is a burden. That needing anything makes you weak. That vulnerability is a luxury only younger siblings can afford. She becomes the caretaker in every environment she enters. Friend group? She's the mom friend. Relationship? She's the giver, the fixer, the emotional support system. Workplace? She shoulders more than she should, gets less than she deserves, but keeps going because that's all she's ever known. People describe her as mature, strong, responsible, reliable. But no one describes her as tired, or hurting, or overwhelmed, or quietly breaking, because she never lets it show. There is a moment that happens to almost every eldest daughter as she grows older. A moment when she looks around and realizes something. My siblings had a childhood, but I had a job. She realizes the freedom her younger siblings enjoyed. The late mornings, the carefree mistakes, the innocence, were things she rarely got. She was the experiment child. The one parents practiced on. The one who faced stricter rules. Higher expectations. Less patience. And so she became the one who grew up faster than she should have. And earlier than she wanted. But the deepest wound of the eldest daughter isn't responsibility. It's invisibility. Because while younger siblings are celebrated for achievements and comforted for failures, the eldest daughter is expected to just manage. Her accomplishments are expected. Her struggles are overreactions. Her emotions are too much. Her mistakes are disappointments. And so she learns to shrink, to stay quiet, to never need anything, to never take up space, to never inconvenience the people she loves. She becomes the kind of woman who apologizes before she speaks, who plans everything so no one else has to worry, who checks on everyone even when she's the one hurting. She becomes the kind of woman who will give you the last piece of what she has, and then feel guilty for wanting even a little piece back. And yet, despite it all, eldest daughters are some of the strongest, kindest, most resilient people in the world. Not because life made them strong, but because they held everyone else together while quietly falling apart themselves. But there's a side of the eldest daughter people rarely see. Behind her strength is exhaustion. Behind her reliability is fear of failing the people she cares about. Behind her maturity is a childhood she never got to live. Behind her selflessness is the deep, aching hope that maybe, just maybe, someone will finally take care of her too. Eldest daughters struggle most with one thing: receiving love. Because they grew up giving it. All the time. Unconditionally. Without rest. Without being asked how they feel. Love became service. Affection became labor. Worth became usefulness. So when someone offers her softness, or care, or a space to rest, she doesn't know what to do with it. She flinches. She pulls back. She thinks, "This is too much. I don't deserve this." But she does. She deserves it more than she knows. Healing for the eldest daughter begins when she realizes something her childhood never taught her. She is allowed to be human, allowed to rest, allowed to make mistakes, allowed to fail, allowed to ask for help, allowed to cry, allowed to need, allowed to be soft. She is allowed to put down the weight she's been carrying since she was too young to even understand why she was carrying it. Because responsibility was never meant to replace her childhood. Strength was never meant to replace her softness. And caring for everyone else was never meant to leave her empty. But here's the most beautiful part of her story. When eldest daughters finally learn to unlearn the pressure, to let themselves breathe, to let others show up for them, they become some of the most powerful people you'll ever meet. Not because they're strong, but because they're finally free. Free from perfection. Free from guilt. Free from the invisible job they never applied for. Free from the expectation to be the family's backbone forever. They become women who know how to set boundaries. How to say no. How to rest without guilt. How to receive love without suspicion. How to be soft without feeling weak. They become women who rewrite their story. Not as the caretaker. Not as the substitute parent. Not as the emotional anchor. But as a person. A whole person. With dreams that matter. With feelings that matter. With a life that belongs to her. And not just to the people she was raised to take care of. If you're the eldest daughter, I want you to remember something you didn't hear enough growing up. You did enough. You were enough. You always were. And it's finally time for someone to take care of you. Even if that someone is you. You don't owe the world your strength. You don't owe your family your exhaustion. You don't owe anyone the childhood you lost. You're allowed to grow into the woman you would have become if you hadn't been forced to grow up so early. You're allowed to rest now. To breathe. To live for yourself. To reclaim the years you gave away. Because you were never just the eldest daughter. You were, and always will be, a whole person with a whole heart, deserving of a whole life. And it's time for that life to finally begin.